I'm Josh Sigman, and I'm a mortgage lender. I'm also a geek for money, not just earning it and saving it, but literally everything about it. I love that money has rules. It has its truths. I love investment strategies, and I love making money work for us. For so many, money is emotional. For me, it's logical, like a puzzle. My passion is also helping others with their money. I love looking at people's finances, dissecting their puzzle, and rebuilding with strategy and purpose, and I'm really good at it. I'm making this podcast about my money strategies, not the things that are written in books or sold in programs. It's a podcast outlining the lessons I've learned and used for the past 15 years. These strategies help me and those who use them save more, give more, create wealth, and retire early. Let me teach you how to build your net worth. You ready? Welcome to Sigman Sense. All right, Brittany, let's carry on our conversation about time management and organizing your life and things like that.
Let's do.
I really loved your last episode. You got to hear it
Thanks.
twice now, and I think there's a lot I can take away from it. So
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. But we carry on.
Carry on.
And in the interest in time and time management, I thought that we'd keep to a 30-minute podcast.
I challenge you.
Challenge accepted.
All right, let's rock.
No, I've got to note the time. Okay, I'm good. I can make this happen. So what I wanted to focus on today is I always get these questions of, hey, do you have any time management tips? Right? And it's like, well, yeah, I've got lots of them.
Lots of them.
And so I try to narrow it down to 15 to 20 that we can rattle off because, again, remember the concept I want to go back to is the concept of your calendar is a reflection of your priorities, right? What does the story tell?
Yep.
I also want to go back to the goals as far as, what you're trying to add and subtract from your calendar are adding more things that bring you joy, removing stuff that pisses you off, irritates you, or you shouldn't be doing in the first place.
Right.
Squeezing more of the good stuff in to get more juice to life and getting, boxing out some of the stuff that we feel we should do, but we really shouldn't be doing. And that's practice, but I felt like this is going to apply both at work and at home as I go through these, but there's a few tactics I think that are pretty easy to kind of give you a governor to work off of. So the first thing I think that you've got to do is if you listen to the first episode of this time management series, there were some homework assignments around it. And the main homework was identify what your top priorities for the year are. What are your top priorities for the year? The reason why that's such an important concept is that is the creation of your filters by which you should say yes and say no to things. Mm-hmm. To me, it's that simple, right?
Yeah, I love
so
that. I
I keep my top priorities every year, printed off on my desk in a frame, so I know exactly what they are. When people ask me, I can literally go back. I know what mine were for 17, for 18, for 19, for this year. But
See, you're kind of a freak too.
yeah, but I've got 4 things I'm trying to keep track of, not 30, right? Like for me, I'm a high D personality if you've ever taken the DISC test. So I know how to prioritize very well, naturally, without thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I just need to, what's the biggest thing to focus on and just do that. So for example, I think my best year in review looking backwards was probably 2018 going into really 2019 as a result of 18 for me, because I knew on January 1 that there were only 4 priorities in my life. So coming off of a real weird business year, personal year, I knew that number one thing that I wanted at that time was to be in the best shape of my life by my 40th birthday.
That's right. Yeah.
So I was going to be 40 in 2019. The second most important thing was I was going to have a better year in business, one more deal, one more unit, one more dollar of volume than the previous year. Didn't need to grow substantially. Just want to not go backwards, want to go forwards, right? The third thing I want to do is prioritize my kids by agreeing to be a coach for all 3 of them. Because I wanted to not say I'm a family man. I wanted to show that I was a family man. And the way to get home on time without exception, the best way to do that is be the coach, because you can't be late. You got to be there.
You did so good at that.
Right?
You did so good.
So that was super important for me. And the fourth thing I wanted to do was, and going to how I was doing these things, right? Being in the best shape of life for me was really easy. It was no drinking for 6 months of that year. Mm-hmm. Actually, that was 5 months of that year. I was up to 5 months, but also working out with a personal trainer 4 days a week, right? So I did that before work every single day. I wanted to grow my business. So the way I was going to do that is on my calendar, I need to call 10 people before the day started every single day, right? I knew I wanted to be home by 5 o'clock. So I signed up for coaching by 5 o'clock every single day. And the last objective I had was to be in the right mind and mindset for 19 because I was in a foul mindset in 2018. So the way I was going to do that is by reading a book every single week. So before my day got started, I was reading a book. Okay. So you'll get some of these tips as we go through this, but because I was so clear about what my top 4 priorities were for the year, I made sure that those were on my calendar, and 3 of the 4 were done first, right? My point though is if you're really clear about what your filters are for this year, 21 in the future, when you're asked to do something, participate in something, you think about maybe I should add this to my calendar. The filter is that in line with your priorities? If it is, say yes, do it, add it to your calendar. If no, it's not a never, it's just a not a right now thing.
All right.
That keeps you focused. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2 for me is no white space. What white space is if you have an Outlook calendar, which is what I use, if there's nothing in it, no planned event, it shows up as white.
Right.
Okay. So to me, I operate best squeezing everything in.
You do.
I just do. Like
it's really cool to watch too.
When I'm back to back to back to back to back, I am far more effective. I'm far more present. I'm far more energetic. When I've got half my day filled up, I get irritable. It takes twice as long to do anything. I don't feel accomplished. It's just how I operate. So I know that's a difference for you, right? Like you need a few moments.
Just a few moments.
30 minutes between appointments to wind down, prep for the next.
Prep to clear the text, clear the voicemails, breathe for a few minutes, just reset.
To me, and also this is a good example of a difference of positions, right? Like
very true.
So when you are leaving an appointment, quite often there's other things to do and follow up with that appointment that you will do.
Right.
So if you don't take the time to write it down and put out a plan by when you're going to do it, it doesn't get done.
Doesn't get done. Yeah.
And you've got to think about what you promised this person in the last meeting for the next meeting. So you have to have the time to think about what you're going to do and say where you left off, right?
Yeah, that's a big deal.
For me, there's a book called, we talked about this book. It's called your favorite author, actually, Energy Bus guy.
Oh, John Gordon?
Not Energy Bus. Mr. Schmooze. Mr. Schmooze, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Schmooze. So what he talks about is something that I started to live by about 7 years ago, which is when I leave an appointment, before I do anything else for the next 3 minutes, whoever I can delegate to, I do. Like
you've actually done a really good job of that for much longer than 7 years. One of the first things I've realized or noticed when working with you, was everything was buttoned up before the meeting ended.
Yes.
I remembered thinking like there's no loose ends. And so I took that cue obviously. And I really, really try to do as much as possible before. But that's,
I love that you said that. So maybe I read it 10 years ago.
It was very obvious to me. I was like, that's really super nice.
To me, and that's a great point that's not even on here. Like I've got 30 minutes to do whatever, including schedule the next meeting, including repeating what I promised to you, repeating to you what I heard you say. I want to make sure that I ground that, because the last thing I want to do is spend time, energy, and effort, or my team's time, energy, and effort going down the wrong bunny trail.
Exactly.
With different expectations than what you heard or what I thought I said, right? So I love that you said that. But to me, I'm able to delegate. Some people are listening are children. Like there's 18-year-olds listening, right? So you don't have a secretary to delegate it to for sure. But for me, as I've built a team over the years, now my company, I'm part owner in, we have hundreds of employees.
Sure, yeah.
There's somebody I can typically say, I need you to help me out with this.
Absolutely.
And in 3 minutes, I'm done so I can go the next time. That's why I love having no white space, right?
Absolutely.
The third thing that I think is really important is in business, especially people that are on the road a little bit, salespeople, meeting people, that kind of stuff, creating geographic limitations to where you're willing to go.
Oh, I love this.
For meetings, right?
Yeah, this is huge. Yep.
And maybe it's not even you're a salesperson. If you are finding yourself commuting across the world and then meeting somebody for lunch 35 minutes away from the office, and then the ball game for your kid is on the other side of town, thinking through that in advance is just wise.
Yeah.
For me, because I'm able to better control my calendar than most, I won't travel more than about a mile in any direction during the workday.
Yeah.
Because I'm back to back. So
you can't.
where I'll have a happy hour is a mile away. Where I have my healthy lunches is the same place where I work out, which is a mile away. Where I have my Starbucks is a quarter mile away. Yeah. Where the one hamburger joint I go to once a month is across the street, right? Like my pad thai is at this corner. But I revolve in literally, the only reason it's a mile away is because it's a one-way street. So I have to make the whole loop to get back to my office. Otherwise, it'd be a quarter mile.
I mean.
But I really think creating geographic limitations where you'll travel is important, or at least thinking through where you live, where you work, and what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. I drive past Lowe's on the way to and from home. So I'm not going to go on the weekend to Lowe's. I can catch that on the way to or from work. It's just like, it makes sense to me. It's linear. It's logical. The next one that I put down is, especially when you're talking to people for appointments of any kind, scheduling appointments with, maybe you are the customer, telling people how much time you have for them up front is not only fair, it's not only professional, but it's courteous, and it makes you feel better at the end. Meaning, you might know that you have to get back to your son to make dinner in an hour. Mm-hmm. The person you're meeting with might think that they've got the rest of the evening. You're the last appointment, because the first thing you said when you sat down was, hey, you're my last appointment of the night, which to me sounds like, cool. If I really like you, we're going to be here till 9 having drinks, right?
Yeah.
Saying, hey, listen, I'm really excited about this hour. The next hour is all yours. You're my last appointment. So you got my full attention. You got the best me, because tonight I can't wait. My kids are going to be waiting for me. And so do me a favor. If you'd kick me out at this time, I'd really appreciate that.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's now they know, hey, yeah, we want to chit chat, but we also need to get to the point, because your agenda needs to be covered. My agenda needs to be covered. Yeah. And we are both clear about the time frame.
Yes.
So starting with, like, I literally did that on this episode. If you go back and rewind this episode, I said, I bet you I can do this in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right?
I have started doing that when I am setting appointments now. I always tell people I'm planning for an hour, just so you know, does that work for you?
Yep.
So that way they even know that far ahead, so they can start to mentally prepare too.
And that way you don't feel like you're rushing somebody out at the end of an appointment.
Totally.
Because they finally brought up one big question that they had the minute before the appointment's over. Like, tell me earlier.
Yeah.
And that also starts with a lot of people are really eager and quick to get to their agenda. Mm-hmm. What I've gotten the habit of doing, especially in my appointments that I run, is I say, hey, listen, I'm excited about the next half hour with you. You know, I definitely want to cover your goals. And outside of the obvious of covering payments and rates and fees and that kind of stuff, is there anything that's really important for me to cover today?
I love that.
So I want to know so I can make sure I take care of what my client wants covered.
Yeah.
But it's not going to disrupt my overall flow of my day, because I can control it better, right?
Yep.
If you have some sort of executive assistant or access to it, or maybe a teammate that can help in this area, I think it's super important to have a gatekeeper long term. If you're a business owner listening, I think this is more of a statement geared towards them. I think A personalities and A players in general are quick to take it on. Like, I can do it. Shit, it takes me 2 seconds to go ahead and put a calendar event in my own calendar.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right?
Yeah.
But the reason why this becomes important long term with very successful people, which I aspire to be, I'm not yet, I aspire to be.
You're doing pretty good. You're close. You're on your way.
Is I can dictate unemotionally to my secretary, to my executive assistant, in a moment of clarity, what my priorities are, who I'm willing to spend time with, who I'd like to spend time with, but if I can squeeze them in, who I really don't want to spend time with, and who I should say no to.
Yeah.
In a moment of clarity, and things like sharing goals of, I want to work 40 hours a week, no more than that. And Katie cares about what I want, because that's now her role, is to get me what I want, right? So if there's a gatekeeper, I might say, yeah, I can squeeze that in today. Right.
And she's like, no, you can't.
And she's like, no,
you cannot.
You can talk to Josh tomorrow at 2.
Yeah.
That's when you can talk to Josh. Whereas I might say, yeah, I can call on the way home. So having that gatekeeper prevents you from breaking your own rules.
It really does. But the other thing that's really great too, that she does, is she thinks about those geographic
constraints.
And so again, especially because you start breaking your own rules when you're feeling pressured in the moment, or you want to just hurry up and get the appointment done so you can move on to the next thing, so you're not late. And that's where bad decisions happen. And so if you give it to somebody that has time and space to make the right decisions.
Well, building out your calendar the right way tells you that you're already doing what you should be doing today in the moment, because I thought about it in the moment of clarity strategically. So everyone's going to try and screw up your calendar. So having a gatekeeper helps you slow that down, right? Sharing your calendar with writing privileges for those key people. You know, in the last episode, we talked about your husband, your oldest daughter, my secretary. You know, I think it's super important that they can do that for a lot of reasons. It puts onus and ownership on other key people in your life. You know, what did you say? I think you said, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. I find that to be very true. If it's so important to you that I be somewhere, do something, or hit a honey-do list for you, just put it on my calendar.
Put it on my calendar.
Don't make me guess what makes you happy, sweetheart, or a client or employee or whatever. Like, just doing the calendar, I'll for sure knock out the park, because my answer always is, what are you doing today? Whatever's on my calendar.
Whatever's on my calendar. So simple.
The next two are more cerebral, but they're so good to work on. I think it's really important. You know, I in the homework, I said, identify what makes you feel like you've achieved something. Identify what it is that makes you feel successful. So whatever that is, like, the real way to say this is identifying what it is to win the day, right? It's an emotional intelligence thing, in my opinion. There's a lot of things that I need to do that don't make me feel like I won. But we already established, for me, for example, 4 top priorities. So if I move the needle with any of those 4 things, or all of those 4 things, or most of those 4 things, regardless of all the other stuff that happened, did I win the day? For me, I did. Right? So maybe right now you're working on losing weight. Did you work out? Yes or no? Maybe you're working on increasing sales volume. Did you make calls? Yes or no? Maybe you're working on your spiritual journey. Did you read the Quran or the Bible or the Torah? Like, are you working on that? So the reason why, the things though I want you to think about in this area is, these have to be things that you 100% own and control, and no one can screw it up but you. No one can screw up me working out unless I choose to not wake up and go work out, because it's on my calendar first thing. No one can screw up me being in my spiritual time other than me choosing not to, because it's before anyone else wakes up, right? So if I'm winning 3 times before my day gets going, how do you think my attitude is for the rest of the day?
I love that. I love that.
But it's about winning the day. And getting, the next one would be getting your wins first. I already said, of those 4 priorities I was illustrating for 2019, 3 of the 4 I would get done before the normal day started for anyone else, right? The 4th one is just because kids have school, and then afterwards, then we can hook up, right? But getting your wins done first. So whatever you think is the priority for your job, like, do those first. You know, one thing I was trying to explain to a group of realtors today, actually, was don't read your email or your text messages before 9 a.m.
I mean,
here's why I think that's important. People are listening saying, well, that's not good customer service. Like, bullshit.
I mean,
whatever it is that's most important to you, you get done first, get done by 9. There's nothing that's really going to melt down the world by 9 o'clock. If you call them at 9:05, you're still going to be fine.
100,
right?
Yes.
But the second you start reacting to other people's inquiries, other people's texts, other people's emails, this is family, this is business, this is everything. Boss, this is everything.
Everything.
The second you start reacting, you are making your boss's priority your number 1 priority. You're making your husband's priority your number 1 priority.
Your neighbor's
priority. As opposed to just do what you need to do for you first. You can't take great care of other people without taking great care of you first. And the number 1 complaint I hear of most parents, especially women, is, I don't have time for me. I come last.
Absolutely.
Everyone else is shopped for Christmas and they are dressed to the nines, but I haven't bought myself anything in months because I take care of me last. Right?
Yeah.
So screw that. You got to fix that right away.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay? The next tactic I wrote down is defining what a good day is. This is not about wins, right? But I tell a story a lot because I think child wisdom sometimes is the best wisdom. It's like from the lips of God.
It's beautiful.
It's the innocent wisdom.
It is.
You know, I asked my kids on a trip to Boston years ago, I said, hey, you know, what was your favorite thing about the trip? And the one answer from my oldest daughter was, well, I got to learn something new, it's one thing to read in a textbook about where the Declaration of Independence was written and where Paul Revere lived. It's a totally different thing to stand where he lived and see where the Declaration of Independence was read for the first time in Boston. You know, learning that what made it like come to life for me, right? And my son said, oh man, you know, going to the Red Sox game, that experience was unbelievable. Like, you and mom are really loud when you root for me, but hearing that stadium explode, totally different experience. And of course, my youngest daughter, who was probably 5 at the time, she said last night, and I was like, last night we were in the hotel room stuck because it was raining all night long. What are you talking about? She's like, my belly still hurts because we laughed all night long.
It's my girl.
And so to me, what makes it a good day, if I learn something new, if I experience something new, or if I laugh uncontrollably, regardless of everything else that happens in the life, it was a good day. But again, this is part of the mental game of staying on pace long-term when it comes to managing your life and time and keeping that happiness advantage.
That
right?
mental game. Whew.
Another tactic I do is I ask my spouse every Monday at the beginning of the week what my honey-do list is for the week.
I love that.
I think it's super important.
So my guess is in the beginning, when you first started asking her, it was probably kind of hard to come up with stuff. And then I'm guessing that over time, like getting more prepared and like thinking through like, oh yeah, I can add that to my Monday list.
Yep.
Is that kind of what the
All I've got
evolution
to do
was?
this week, I've got to buy my son a new baseball glove, and I've got to practice with him 3 times. We've got tryouts on Saturdays. Done. It's like, okay, no problem.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so you're right. Like at the beginning, she wouldn't think of anything. But what I constantly was frustrated about was I'd come home tired from a day of work, expecting to do my night with the kids and her, only to get a new honey-do list slapped in my face to be done immediately right now. It's like, no, honey, I'll do that if you tell me next Monday, right? Which doesn't go over well early, but like long term, it's good for everybody, right?
Communication.
So I think that's super important to do. In that vein, shopping is stressful, right? We talked about in the last episode, don't buy food every day by Instacart. It's bad time management. It's poor for your finances.
Yes.
I believe in shopping quarterly for the season. Like, you know what sports season, you know what you've got, you know, if you need to update your wardrobe for work for summer versus winter or fall or whatever, you know, you can do that at one go. For money, it's a big one. I see way too many Amazon packages showing up every single day at some households in times of the year, including mine. It's just ridiculous, right?
Amazon,
and,
I love you.
Well, and it serves a purpose of saving you time to go shopping, but man, how many hours you're shopping on your phone is still costing you time. So to me, it's Instacart once a week for your lunches
Groceries,
and breakfast and dinners for the week, and shop once a quarter for the big stuff. And yes, you're going to have the one-offs, but it's not an everyday thing. I don't shop other than maybe once a quarter for real, right? Declutter is a big one for me. Declutter. Time management, organizational. It's about feeling like you're winning, feeling accomplished. Your day gets started faster when you're not trying to find your damn to-do list underneath the pile of shit on your desk, right? If the only thing on your desk when you show up is the to-do list, you're going to start the to-do list. Basics. You're at home. Your weekend warrior project gets done faster if the hammer is where you left it because it was put back the last time you used it. Yes. And you're not looking for half hour for a freaking hammer, right? So the declutter and organizing is time management at its best.
It is. I've actually always admired your simplicity of like how little you like have with you at any time. Oh. Like, he's never carried a briefcase or a computer or anything.
unless my calendar says take computer home.
Your computer.
I'm not planning on it. Right.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
Trying to keep on this 30-minute time for you. I'm doing good so far. If you're an employer, I think this is super important. A team lead, if you're in a group at your office place, having one-on-ones with each employee every quarter for bigger teams, every month for smaller teams, I think is really important. That and like the amount of wasted time, energy, and effort within teams because of people assuming that, we always assume the worst, no matter what. If there's somebody's off a little bit, we automatically assume that they hate me, they're about to fire me, I did wrong. So what you didn't know is that their mom is just diagnosed with cancer. Because you didn't sit down to have a one-on-one conversation to get to know them better. I think that stuff is so important, and it's often overlooked when we get busy. but that costs us in time, energy, and relationships long term. So having that on the calendar is super important. I do think that once a quarter, this will be a big hallelujah for everybody. You should remove stuff from your calendar. You have to have a calendar event once a quarter to remove things from your calendar.
Yeah.
We keep on adding stuff. Those of us that use calendars, we keep on adding the good thing that we heard, the good thing we learned, the thing we think is really important. But very few people like strategically remove stuff from the calendar to declutter, to free up time to put more of the good stuff in. If I were to give a little asterisk here for everybody to listen to, the first job is to fill your calendar. The second job is to fill it with the right people. Third job is to fill it with the right things. Yeah. Right. So, first thing is like, take advantage of the whole 40-hour workday. Take advantage of the whole 80 hours of being awake. Like, what are you going to do with it? But then, are you doing it with the right people? If you don't like them, stop doing it with those people.
Right.
And then, are you doing the right things to move the needle towards what you claim to be your priorities in this life for this year, for this month, for this quarter, right? So removing stuff, I think, is super important. Leveraged events, I think, are really important for any type of person in sales. If you're listening to this, you can talk to one person for an hour. It turns out this day and age with media, with video conferencing, with video texting, with Zoom meetings, you can have the same one conversation with 100 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people.
Yeah.
You could do a video email to 10,000 past clients instead of have the one conversation. So when you say you're out of time and you can't possibly talk to more people, start thinking in terms of leveraging that time.
Leverage it out. Absolutely.
I think that that's a missed mark for a lot of people because they're afraid of.
There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of anxiety that comes with leverage events of any kind, but also when you add in a technology component, so much anxiety comes up for sure.
Next next one I think is super important is utilization of recurring events.
My favorite.
If it's something good to do this month, it's probably good to do next month. If it's something good this week, you should probably do it every week. If it's something you should work out today, you should probably work out every day. It's like real basic.
Yeah.
So don't schedule it and then have to rethink it. Schedule it over and over and over again. Recurring events in your calendar is a real thing. Down to, and my mom just started listening to this. I just found out. First time I've
What does she think?
So far, so good. She hasn't fired me yet.
I mean, moms are like the best, right? My mom loves the show.
Yeah. That's the best cheerleader. My point is that I love my mom and dad, and I'd like to think I'm going to call them every single day. And in my life and with my own kids and everything else, sometimes a couple weeks go by and I don't reach out, and that's not good. So I put recurring event, call mom and dad every Wednesday. Like,
perfect.
I'm driving home. It says call mom and dad. I'm going to call mom and dad. Not because that it says to. It's because I want to. And this reminded me that that's really important. I need to do it. And enough times pass, I need to do it no matter what.
Absolutely.
Right? 1 day per week, I think you should do whatever brings you joy. It doesn't have to make sense. Okay, let me say this a different way. I coach, separate of being a business owner and a loan officer, as you know.
Like coach your kids?
No, I coach professionally.
Oh, professionally.
Like the core training I've coached for years, over a decade. Of my industry professionals. Financially, it makes no sense. Time commitment, it makes no sense. I do it because I truly love it. Like, it brings me so much joy to watch other people's businesses blossom.
Right.
I'll not stop doing that. And even though it takes up a big chunk of my week, because it brings me joy and it breaks up my week nicely, I'll always do it. And it makes those weeks, like some stressful weeks, better. Right.
So are you talking like, find something to do that's in alignment with your business, or are you talking like any sort of hobby?
But even a hobby, like if you like golf, do it every week.
I need a hobby. That's what I decided to.
If you like to read every day, but set things aside that it doesn't have to make sense, but you love and brings you real joy.
I think I'm going to take a hip hop class.
Do it. You like to dance. I know that you like to dance. Because you used to be a cheerleader and dancer back in the day.
Yeah.
Right?
I got to get my TikTok channel going.
And in the interest of time, because I said I keep it to 30. The last thing I would say that people fail to do quite often is actually calendar time off for the year. Calendar long weekends, calendar date nights, calendar week breaks, calendar Christmas, calendar upfront. What I've found for me is that if I have stuff to look forward to in one quarter, I can go 90 days really hard, really fast, really good. Knowing that I've got spring break on the horizon. I'm looking for that trip with my kids. I can go 30 more days knowing I've got a 3-day weekend for MLK Day or for President's Day or for Easter or for whatever. I've got a scheduled, we're going to go to Fredericksburg and just do a night on the town in Fredericksburg.
I love that. I was going to say,
that.
like, speaking financially, you know, don't feel like that has to be something that's huge and extravagant and spend tons of money. Like, I'm talking like,
go
camping in your backyard. Like, I mean, make memories. Better said, right? Make memories as a family, no matter what, you know, how extravagant or simple it is.
That's right. The reason I wanted to rattle through those in 30 minutes was simply because those are other concepts I want you to consider, whether you're a novice, intermediate, or pretty advanced with your time management. There's things that you want to think about, and some, you know, adding in bite size, some might not be realistic for you. You might not have a personal secretary or somebody to delegate to. I get that, but don't let that be a block, right? That is just understanding overall what's possible, right? There are people that have hundreds of businesses and still have the same number of work hours that you do.
I know, right?
Like, you have to remember there's a way that they're doing it, and it's not by failing the calendar, right?
For real.
And so I'm wrapping up on that note. Where we're going to go from here is the last big piece of the puzzle of the next episode or two, which will be more about, okay, now we've got the concepts, now we have the things to think about. I want to make sure that we're really clear about what are the building blocks within the calendar. Understanding green time and red time if you're in sales. Understanding management time versus leadership time, which are two different concepts if you're a business owner or sales leader, right? Understanding family time versus quality time. Being on the couch for 4 hours is not the same as 30 minutes of shooting hoops. Yeah. So I really want to focus in on those intricacies on the next episode. But I hope this was a good masterclass for you. That was a great list. I love all of those ideas. And I think, it's just a great list. Nice and solid, and so much built into. And listen, if somebody's listening, they're like, man, you should have said this. Please do. Please do. Like, subscribe, give comments, pop us an email. Where do we send emails? sigmansense@gmail.com. So tell us what you like, what you don't like, anything you want to hear us talk about. We love the ideas. We love doing this. Thank y'all so much for listening. Share with your friends, please. And we'll see you next time on Sigman Sense. See ya. Bye.